What's going on, guys? MJ300 here, and welcome to season number 2 of our FIFA Road to Glory series. So for those of you that are not familiar with what this series is, we are taking a team on a 5-season journey to see if we can turn them into the champions of Europe. So if you are a fan of FIFA Let's Plays, along with other video game and sports related content, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that alert icon so that you are notified as soon as a video goes up. So this particular series, we are going with Arsenal, which is my team. And if you didn't check out season number 1, make sure you go back and check that out. We had a really good season, which actually ended with us winning the Premier League. And I couldn't believe that we managed to win it. Our target was anywhere in the top 4. So to actually bring home the trophy was an incredibly successful season. And on top of that, we also managed to win the Europa League. So for season number 2, we are finally back where we belong. Arsenal Football Club is in the UEFA Champions League. So this particular video will be focusing on pre-season, looking to bring in some new faces for the team so that we can strengthen up and get into the first few games of the season. So just before we jump into this video, just give a quick reminder of what the rules are on our FIFA Road to Glory series. You can see on the screen there are 5 seasons. As I mentioned before, we are just about to start season number 2. In terms of games that we'll actually have gameplay footage of and I will play myself, we play the top 10 league games, we play the semi-final and the final if we get there of the Carabao Cup. We play the quarter-final onwards of the FA Cup and the quarter-final onwards of European games. Everything else, we rely on the simulation engine to dictate what result we get. To try and add a little bit of realism, I am restricting myself to 3 signings per window. However, there is a caveat to that. Any players that we get an offer for, any first team players that we get an offer for that are sold, we can obviously replace. So we'll start with looking at the transfer budget here, and you can see we've got an awful lot of money to spend. In excess of £180 million. Obviously, the reason we have that much money is because we won the Premier League, we're back in the Champions League. But on top of that, we were actually quite conservative with our spending in year number 1. I think we still had a transfer budget of about 50 or 60 million left over. So we only spent about half our money. And that is now paying dividends for year number 2. So the 3 players that we bring in, we should be able to bring in a few world-class players. So just going to show you the squad that we're working with and where we need to look to improve. We have Bernardo in goal. He will be our goalie for the full 5 seasons, no doubt about that. In defence, we've got Kieran Tierney, Nathan Ake, David Luiz and Hector Bellerin. So there's the first thing there. David Luiz, 33 years old. He's only got 12 months left on his contract. We'll probably look to move him on now. So we need a new centre-back. Yes, we have Saliba, who has now come back to us after his year loan at St Etienne, and he will be a great player for us. But at the moment, he's only 76 overall. So I think we need to bring in a stronger centre-back to partner Ake while Saliba continues to grow. In the central of midfield, we've got Torreira and Neves. Obviously, last year we had Dani Ceballos, and we're going to go and sign him in just a minute. I wanted to do an extent, and I wanted to take up the offer to buy, but in FIFA you don't have that option, so we'll just have to go out and buy him. That will be our main central midfields. Torreira, Neves, Ceballos and Guendouzi will carry on. I think we're kind of okay in there at the moment. We may look to add someone in the future, but right now it's not a priority. On the wings, we've got Saka and Pepe. On the bench, we've got Martinelli and Nelson. So as you can see, we've only really got Pepe as a quality option. We have Nelson, Martinelli, Saka, all have potential. Martinelli and Saka especially. And I do want to use them, but it would be good to bring in another winger, maybe one that's a little bit higher rated. But if we don't find anyone that we like that's higher rated, at least another winger anyway, because we only have 4 and I think we need to have an extra one for if someone gets injured. In the cam position, we have Mesut Ozil and Thomas Lemar. Mesut Ozil is another one. He's 31 years old. He's already dropped to an 83. He was 84 last year. He only has 12 months left on his contract. So I think he's another player that will look to move on and therefore bring in a new number 10. And then up top, obviously, we have our captain, our leader, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, he is 31 years old, and he has dropped from an 88 to an 87. But I don't want to move on from Aubameyang just yet. He's still 87. He's the highest rated player in our team. And therefore, I think he's still more than capable of doing a job. Maybe next year, year number 3, that's when we'll look to move on. At that point, he'll be 32 years old. But for season number 2, unless someone comes in and pays an astronomical fee for him, he will be here for year number 2. So I already mentioned we've got Saliba, we've got Maitland-Niles, Guendouzi, Nelson already mentioned. So in terms of reserves, obviously I mentioned all these guys here, Saliba, Martinelli, Lemar, Lacazette, Guendouzi, Nelson. We also have Maitland-Niles as a right back. Martinez is still serviceable as a backup for now. We will probably look to improve that maybe in January or next year, but right now it's not a priority. Holding Kolasinac. Again, Kolasinac is another player we may look to improve in the future, but not priority. And Willock. And then other youngsters, we've got Chambers, Smith Rowe and Nketiah. So those are all fine. Those are all young Arsenal players that I want to keep. They'll only be on the fringes of the squad, but if we have any injuries, they can step in and hopefully do a job. We also have Blondo and Morrow, who you may remember from our youth academy last year. These are the guys that both have 90 plus potential, and therefore I'm very keen to loan these two out this year and see if they can grow another club, because at 63 and 60, they're not going to get any game time for us, but hopefully they can go out, get some minutes and improve. And then everyone else down here is just depth that we'll probably look to try and offload this summer, because we've got far too many players on the books right now. Okay, so I mentioned the first thing I wanted to do was bring back Dani Ceballos, so we're going to do that right now. It's got a transfer value of 34 million, so we're probably going to have to spend a little bit more than that. Let's go in at 37.5 and see what they say. They want 42.7. It's not too far away. We should probably be able to get him for 40. But there we go. I offered 38.5 and they've actually accepted that. So even better. So we bring back Dani Ceballos. I think he was really good for us last year. He's still young. He's going to get better. He wanted a squad role of crucial, which is fine because he will be playing most games for us. Even if he's not starting 11, he'll be coming off the bench. 5-year contract, no release clause. So we just need to sort out the wage, which is a little bit of a problem because he's on 160 at Real Madrid. Now, obviously, I know you can bring this down quite a lot, and Real Madrid is massively inflated. I don't want to make him storm out. So let's go with 80 and 800 and see what he says to that. Well, it wasn't miles off, but he wants 100,000 a week. Because we've got so much money, I'd rather have lower wages and a bigger signing fee. So how about 90,000 a week and a 1.4 million signing bonus? And he still wants 110,000. Meet me halfway, 100,000. Okay, we'll accept the 105. It's a little bit more than we want to spend, but I suppose we've got... Look at that smug face. He knows he's absolutely rinsed us right there. £105,000 a week. That makes him one of our highest paid players, but I think he's going to be a great player. So we talked about adding other players to the squad, and these are the guys that we've transfer listed. I'm just going to wait until we have overalls of everyone before we jump in and sign. So at centre-back, we've got the options here of Hermoso, Demir, Kimpembe. So I was thinking maybe we could try and bring back Serge Gnabry. It would be really good to see him back in an Arsenal shirt, but unfortunately, Atletico don't want to sell him, so we'd have to pay his release clause, which is £104 million. As good as he is, he's not worth it. You can see his value there is 40 million, which means we'd probably be able to sign him for 60. I don't want to pay 100, so probably not going to happen, but we'll wait and see. Going to scout Sarr from Watford. If you recall, Watford got relegated last season, so might be able to get a good deal on him. So in the cam position, we've still got Maddison and Brandt. And then we've got Odegaard that I've added as well. And then you can see the other right wing option is Trincao from Aston Villa, 78 overall. Again, a little bit lower rated, but everyone is saying from Portugal, he is the next Cristiano Ronaldo. So I wouldn't mind having a new Ronaldo in my squad. Okay, so just quickly, this is the training that we're going to start the season with. Really want to get Saka up to an 80 overall plus as soon as possible. So we're going to give him 2 trainings. Going to give Smith Rowe a couple of trainings because he is a player who's going to be on the cusp of the squad that I want to use a little bit. But 70 overall is just a little bit too low. I have a training there for Salah as well because, again, along with Saka, probably the highest rated potential player we have in the squad. So want to get these guys up into the 80s as quickly as possible. Okay, so we mentioned how Mesut Ozil might be a player we look to move on, and our first transfer offer of the window, only 4 days in, has come in from Inter Milan, and it is from Mesut Ozil, 19.3 million. Now, it's slightly under his value, but we're going to go in and negotiate this here, see if we can get a little bit more money. So let's go for 22, which is about half of what Arsenal paid for him all those years ago. I mean, he's only probably got 1, maybe 2 good seasons left in him. So that's kind of sort of seems reasonable. Would they pay 22 million? No, they're pretty confident they're only paying 19.3. How about 21.5? Right, they're driving a high bargain. How about what he's actually valued at? 20.5. And there we go. They agree to pay what his value is of 20.5 million. Looks like Mesut Ozil will be heading out the door and going to Inter Milan. Okay, so we're up to our first game of pre-season here. We are away to Monterrey. We're just going to simulate through all of these as we always do. This is more just to get some players, some fitness, and add to a little bit to our transfer budget. Not that we really need it. There we go. As you can see, we've gone with a reserve sort of team, mix it up, get a few players some minutes, and we win 5-0. Lacazette with 2, Martinelli and Pepe on the score sheet, and Saliba on his debut, albeit non-competitive, gets himself a goal. So there you go. Round of training there, you can see Saka's now up to 79. Be really good to see if we can get him to 80 before the start of the season. So next you can see in our group is a rematch from the Europa League final where we are up against Bayer Leverkusen. We still have a few players away on international duty, so that's pretty much the strongest team we can field for this game against Leverkusen. It's going to be difficult, but we win. We win 2-0. El Neni, who got himself a game, gets himself sent off. Aubameyang with a brace. Texiera for them. And that should put us through to the semi-finals of this pre-season tournament. So there you go. We've had confirmation that Mesut Ozil has indeed agreed to go to Inter Milan. So that adds an extra 16.5 million to our transfer budget. And we will go and sign a couple of our transfer targets in a minute, but we're just going to get through this final preseason game in the group. Simulating again, as always. Would expect to get a win against Palermo, and we do. We win 2-0. Saka on the score sheet, Pepe on the score sheet. 3 wins out of 3. A very promising start to pre-season. Okay, so Inter Milan have now come back. They're not just happy taking Mesut Ozil, they also want to take Thomas Lemar. We're going to reject that and block any future offers for Thomas Lemar. Okay, so here we go. Let's start by signing a couple of players that we targeted. And I think from the centre-back, as I mentioned before, it's an area where we're a little bit weak, and therefore I'm leaning towards the highest overall player in Kimpembe. Demuro could be another player we bring in maybe a year or two. He's still only 22 years old, but at 79, he's no better than the Chambers and the Holding that we've already got. So it comes down to Hermoso and Kimpembe, but as I mentioned, Kimpembe there, he's taller, he's 1 year younger, he's got a higher overall. Not going to be cheap, it's going to look like he's going to cost us about 40 million potentially, but let's go and get this deal done. Okay, so his official value is only 26.5. So I'm going to start by offering them 34 million and see what they say to that. Oh, and they think it's fair. So we might have actually been able to get him for a little bit cheaper. I was thrown off by the recommendation that we had to pay somewhere between 36.5 and 50 million. Okay, so he's agreed for an important squad role, 5 years, no release clause normal. I'm going to start by offering him a 70,000 a week salary, slightly less than he's getting in Paris, but from my experience of this engine, we can normally offer them less than what they're on, and they seem to accept it. And he does. He says 70,000 is fair. We might have been able to get him a little bit cheaper, but I don't expect a player of his caliber to be being paid much less than that anyway. So Kimpembe, welcome to Arsenal. So next up, I think, is the number 10 role. We've sold Ozil, so that is a key area that we need to fill. And these are the 3 players that we are looking at. So we've got Maddison, Brandt, and Odegaard. I do like the idea of James Maddison, but I've been thinking about it, and realistically, it's a Premier League rival. Leicester wouldn't sell him, and if they did sell him, they wouldn't sell him for anything less than 60 or 70 million. So the fact that we could buy him for maybe 40 is a little bit unrealistic. And I've used him in previous career modes as well, and I'm trying to kind of use players that maybe I haven't used before, so I'm going to actually go and remove him. And now it comes down to Brandt and Odegaard. Now, Odegaard is younger, but he's 3 overall less. Probably has a similar sort of potential, should get up to the high 80s. Brandt there, though, even though he's valued at 54, he's got a release clause of only 64. So I think that could be a really good deal. So I think they're both good options, but I'm leaning towards Brandt because, well, one, because of the overall, it's a really good overall rating of 87. He's slightly taller, and he also has the 4-star weak foot, whereas Odegaard has a 2-star weak foot. So he's very much one-footed. So I think Brandt is going to be the one to go with, and we'll pay his release clause because we're not going to get him any cheaper than that. Here we are. Let's try and agree this contract with Julian Brandt now. He wanted a crucial squad role, obviously, but he will be going straight into that first team. 5 years, no release clause as always. And I think I'm going to look to offer him 100,000, which is, I believe, what we also gave to Ceballos. So let's see if he is happy to accept 100,000. And he is. Again, might have been able to get him for slightly less, but that seems like a fair salary. It's actually slightly less than he was on at Dortmund anyway. Julian Brandt, welcome to Arsenal. That's 2 very good signings straight away. Okay, there you go. So there's the first team we're looking at now. So with Kimpembe in the middle, that definitely brings up the overall of our defence. And having Brandt there, an 87, the same as Aubameyang, very good as well. So our lowest rated player now is Saka, which is why I'm really keen to get him up to the 80s as soon as possible. And obviously, like I said, we might look to bring in another winger anyway. It's just deciding whether or not we go with more of a potential or we go with someone with a higher overall. So before we do that signing of a winger, let's finish our pre-season games off here. We've got Borussia Mönchengladbach in the semi-finals. Should be able to beat them, I would expect. And we do. Saka with 2 and Aubameyang gets 1 and Arsenal are through to the final. Could we get ourselves our first piece of silverware? We're up against Lyon in the final. Okay, so just before we jump into the final, we've had a transfer offer in here again. Inter Milan. Is this becoming a retirement home for Arsenal? They've taken Mesut Ozil. They wanted Lemar, but we didn't sell him out. And now they want David Luiz for 7 million. Well, it's good that we're not selling him to another Premier League club. His value is 8, so I think we're going to go into, or what I'll do is I'll just delegate it So I delegate it to say, well, I want 8 because that's his value, but I would take 7.5 to be honest. He's 32. He's in the last 12 months. We're not going to extend him. We're not going to use him. So he's just taking up wages on the payroll. So let's get him out of here. Off to Inter Milan with Mesut Ozil by the looks of it. So here we go now. Here's the final of the Champions Trophy. Last game of pre-season. Up against Lyon. They've obviously had a very good run. They beat Leverkusen, looks like, in the semi-final, and they beat us. I'm very surprised at that. I really thought that we would have the better team. Dembele scored 2 for them, Pepe for us. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but I mean, it's only pre-season. It's not really the end of the world. The only reason we do it is to get some extra money for our transfer budget, which we don't really need. You can see there we have added 2.7 million to our budget by reaching the final. So every little bit helps, but we still have 65 million to bring in that winger. So I think we're going to be okay. Okay, so we've heard back from Inter Milan now. They're happy to pay 7.6 million for David Luiz. We'll go and accept that offer. Okay, so there's the confirmation there. David Luiz has gone to Inter Milan, added another 5.5 to our transfer budget, but also got an extra 84,000 off our wage bill. So thank you, David Luiz, for your service last year. But like I said, weren't really part of the plans for year number 2 and onwards. So made sense for everyone that he moved on. Okay, so another round of training, and Saliba is already up to a 77. Okay, so another transfer offer's come in, this time for Henrik Mkhitaryan. He obviously has returned from Roma, not really part of our plans. 31 years old, 79 overall, just doesn't fit in with his squad. Bayern Munich are interested in buying him. They've offered 9.3. He is worth 11.5. So, I mean, I'll take 11. I don't want to. I'll delegate that to 10 or 11, something like that. I'm happy with anything there, to be honest, just to get him out. And we've also had confirmation here that our young goalie prospect, the 16-year-old with the high 90 rated overall, he's gone out on loan for a year, so that's good. Hopefully, we'll see some growth out of him. Okay, so here we go. We're back into our transfer hub now, and I've been having to think about what winger we look to bring in. The Serge Gnabry would have been my first choice, but unfortunately, they're not willing to sell him. I'm going to keep him on the list in case they ever change their mind. So then it basically comes down to Sarr and Trincao. Now, I could go and look for another winger, but these 2 players are players that I would be interested in and would be realistic. Sarr, it's possible, but you can see there at 79 overall, his passing is not great. His technical ability is not great. He's a good shooter. He's a good athlete. So he's kind of a lot of pace and skill and not much else. Whereas Trincao, you can see there, is much more balanced. Even though he's 78 overall, he's got 75 athleticism, 75 technical ability, 71 shooting, and 73 passing. And he's left-footed, so that would be good there as a backup to Pepe, which is what he would be. Cutting in on that left foot, you know, I like to cut in on the inside. I think this is the right decision to make. He's not the best right now, but with a couple of years of training and development, we could definitely see him into the mid-80s by then. And if I bring in anyone with a high rating, it then means we've got to drop Saka and Martinelli, and I don't want to stunt their growth. So yeah, I think Trincao is the way to go. I don't want to pay his 38 million release clause. I think we can get him for much less than that. So let's negotiate here with Aston Villa and see what we can do. We'll start by offering 20, and they accept it. There we go. So that was nice and easy. We'll now go in here and offer him a contract. The good thing is, because he's 78 rated, he's going to be happy with rotation, or there you go, he's even said sporadic. So we'll give him that, and then he'll be really happy when he gets more games than he was otherwise expecting. 5-year contract length. He only wants 3. That's fine. We'll go in the middle of 4. They'll always accept that. There you go. Don't want any release clause. He's come in with a wage, which is good. He wants 50. We'll offer him 50,000 and 500,000. He wants 55. You know what? I'm not going to haggle. Happy with that. For a 4-year contract, that could be very good value for money. So those are our 3 signings now for the window. We won't bring in anyone else in unless we get any offers for any of our players that are in our squad that we're not intending to sell. So after all that business, we are still left with a good amount of money, which is great. Got 50 million. So if come January, when we're at the next transfer window, we decide that we want to do any business, we will still have money there. Okay, so just also very quickly, I figured now we've got those signings, I'd show you the jersey numbers or squad numbers I've given to each player in case you're interested in that kind of thing. I mean, it matters to me. I'm very particular about having numbers. So Saliba has been given the number 4 jersey, which is what I would expect him to be given when he comes to Arsenal. Kimpembe has been given a number 5, which is obviously free since Socrates left us. Ceballos, who's obviously returned, maintains number 8 shirt. Julian Brandt I've given to number 10. And then last but not least, Trincao has taken on another 17 shirt. Okay, here we go. So we've had confirmation that Bayern Munich are willing to pay 10.5 million for Henrik Mkhitaryan, so I'm going to accept that. Another offer here we've had in for Callum Chambers, but I'm not going to look to sell him just yet. I think he could still have a place in our squad. Okay, so here we go. We're now at the official curtain raiser of the Premier League season, and that is Manchester City versus Arsenal in the Community Shield. Now, I don't actually have a rule for this about what I do, so I think I'm just going to simulate it because it is only a pre-season game. So we're going to simulate this here and see whether or not the guys can get themselves a result. Not going to be easy against a very strong City team, I'm sure. And we lose 3-1, Sterling with 2, Aguero with 1, Pepe for us, but I mean, it's obviously a little bit disappointing, but it is only pre-season, really. It doesn't really matter. There will be more important games coming up. See, there's confirmation I didn't realise, but Saka is up to an 80 overall now, which is excellent. So now everyone in our first team is at least 80 rated. So guess who's back again? Yes, that's right, Inter Milan. Not happy with just the 2 Arsenal players they've signed and the fact they tried to sign Lamar. They now want to sign Lucas Torreira. So I'm going to reject that as I did before. It was a better offer than Barcelona. They offered 32.4 million, but still don't really want to be selling Lucas Torreira just yet. Okay, so there goes confirmation there that Mkhitaryan has been sold. We've got an extra 8 million from that. And we've actually had an offer in here for Mavropanos from Ajax to go out on loan. So I'm going to go and accept that because I think that would be a great opportunity for him. And now here we go. We are up to our first game of the Premier League season here against Newcastle, which coincidentally is the team we started our Premier League season against last campaign. So brand new season, Arsenal as the defending champions. Obviously going to go with our strongest team there. Our squad morale is not too high at the moment. I think that's possibly because we've maybe brought in a few new faces, but still a little bit concerning. Hopefully that morale will pick up after a couple of wins. So into the game we go. That's a really strong team against Newcastle at home. I expect us to start the season with a win, and we do. Aubameyang gets 2, and Brandt on his debut scores. So Aubameyang not quite getting that hat-trick that he got on opening day last year, but still picking up where he left off last season. 3-1 win, really good. Abraham missed a penalty for them. Good start to the season there for Arsenal. Okay, so here we go. We have the UEFA Super Cup now against Liverpool. If you remember, they won the Champions League last year by beating Real Madrid in the final. Obviously, we won the Europa League, beating Leverkusen. Now, we do have a problem that this game is on a Wednesday and then Chelsea is on a Saturday, only 3 days later. So we will make a couple of changes to the team just because that game against Chelsea is very important. We want team to be fresh. And also, the Premier League is our main priority this year, much more so than the Super Cup. So we'll jump into this game here anyway now. It'd be great to get a trophy earlier on this evening, and obviously it's always nice to beat Liverpool. Okay, so here we go. This is the team we're going to go with. We're going to go with Leno still in goal, or the same back 5 actually. Leno in goal, Tierney, Ake, Kipembe and Bellerin. Defenders I find don't fatigue quite so much. We will bring Ceballos in for Neves. We want to protect him for the weekend. Martinelli comes in for Saka and Lamar comes in for Brandt. We'll bring Brandt off the bench in the second half, still give him a half-hour run out. And obviously Aubameyang and Pepe, our dynamic duo from last season, start this final. So just thought also we'd have a look at the Liverpool team, see if they've made any new signings since last season. There's only one name in there that's new, Alderweireld. I can't even remember if they signed him last year or not. But other than that, it's the same Liverpool team that you would expect. Alisson in goal, Alexander-Arnold right back, Van Dijk in the middle, Milner left back, because we know Robertson went to RB Leipzig. Midfield 3 of Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, and front 3 of Mane, Firmino and Salah. So even with no real new names in there, other than the Alderweireld, it's still a very strong team. We're going to have to be at our best if we want to win here, but I always remain confident. Let's go and get ourselves another trophy. Here is Martinelli with some space to run into. He's cut inside beautifully. Martinelli! Oh! Tried to go alone. Cut inside and just flashed it past the far post. Here is Pepe. Can he find Aubameyang in the middle? He can. Aubameyang! And that is clinical between Pepe and Aubameyang once again combining. How many times did we see that in season number 1? Pepe with pace down the right-hand side. The pass into Aubameyang. And the clinical finish underneath Alisson. Now after about 20 minutes played, it is 1-0 to the Arsenal. He's cut it back to Fabinho and Kipembe's away. Torreira's there. And Lamar. Arsenal look to break at pace now. And here comes Bellerin. And Arsenal looks for the cutback. He's arriving. Oh, who was that? It was Ceballos arriving, but he hit it straight at Van Dijk. Ceballos. What a ball that is. Pepe's in here. Can he finish it? And he can't. What a pass by Ceballos. Cutting open the Liverpool defence there. Pepe's always going to build Milner for pace. Maybe we should have tried to bend it. Went for power. And that is the half-time whistle. So Liverpool definitely piling the pressure on. Arsenal really with just those two counter-attacking opportunities. Scored the first one. Pepe forcing a good save on the second. Bellerin intercepts. Martinelli. Aubameyang turns. Lamar. Aubameyang on. One pass too many. Ceballos now. Can he find Pepe through the middle? Liverpool up so high. Oh, it's Lamar, sorry. Can he finish it? He can. Arsenal catch Liverpool on the counter once again. And Thomas Lamar this time finishes for Arsenal. And is that the goal that seals them the UEFA Super Cup? So much space in behind. Lamar composed as he blasts it past Alisson. After that, we're going to make some subs here. We're going to bring on Saliba, Trincao and Brandt. Here's Aubameyang. Oh, Trincao, look at Martinelli in the middle. That's a great pass. Is he offside though? Oh, he is offside. I was going to say, Trincao's first involvement in an Arsenal shirt is an assist in the Super Cup final. Almost his very first touch. Last chance here, last attack of the game surely, but it's already over. Aubameyang. Oh, and it's just wide from Ceballos, but it doesn't matter. Because there goes the full-time whistle. And Arsenal are the winners of the UEFA Super Cup. I'm very surprised that we managed to get the win. I mean, Liverpool had far more possession than us, but they just weren't able to do anything with it. And there it is, there's the trophy. I don't even know what it's called. I should have looked it up before this video. Not very good of me, but there we go. Julian Brandt there, his first game for Arsenal, already getting a taste of silverware. And obviously it'll be our captain, our leader, our talisman, Aubameyang, to lift the trophy here for Arsenal. Okay, so only 3 days later after that victory in the Super Cup, we now go back to the Premier League and have a very difficult game here against Chelsea. Good news is, start of the season, as you can see there, pretty much everyone is still at full fitness with the exception of Torreira. But I mean, it's only a little bit off full fitness. It's not going to be a problem for this game. So we can go with our strongest possible team. See, Chelsea won their first game as well, but we'll jump into this here and we'll see if we can get ourselves a result at Stamford Bridge. Okay, so here is the Chelsea team, and it looks like they have made a few additions to the team. Upamecano is at centre-back. I think they brought him in January. But he there pounces Christensen with Alonso and Zappacosta as the fullbacks with Kepa in goal. Kante, Kovacic and the returning Loftus-Cheek. Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi are the wingers. And looks like they have made a signing with Joseph Martinez up top. So last year, I think they still only had Batshuayi. So that's definitely an improvement for him. So it's a pretty strong team, but I think our team's better. And I'm confident we can get ourselves a result. It's Pepe, Brandt, Aubameyang. He's onside. Aubameyang! He's always going to score from there. Arsenal cut open Chelsea inside the first 10 minutes. Julian Brandt with his first assist for Arsenal. And Aubameyang still scoring the goals. That's his third for the season. Here come Arsenal again with Aubameyang. Brandt in the middle. Can he get a finish? Oh, it's a great save by Kepa. Saka into Brandt. It's Aubameyang. Returns it now to Brandt. He cuts inside. Can he finish? Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. Julian Brandt, what a debut he's having. Assisted one and now scored another. Him and Aubameyang already look like they have a really good understanding up top. Aubameyang played it into Brandt. Absolutely sold Zappacosta with the cutback. And drills it hard, and it's in off the post. There's Loftus-Cheek now. So powerful. Gets a strike, but you're not going to beat Leno from there at the near post. And they go short again. And where is that going? I don't know where that was going, but now Brandt. Can he run the whole length of the pitch? He's away from the defender. And he scores. 65-yard run from his own defence into attack. And Arsenal are absolutely destroying Chelsea here at Stamford Bridge. They lead 3-0. You can hear the boos ringing round. And Julian Brandt is already making himself a hero. Chelsea now with Kante right before half-time. Oh, he's absolutely sold a dummy there. Defence has only gone as far as... Oh, it's a great slide by Kimpembe to stop Martinez. Look at this. This is almost as good as a goal. Look at that. That's going past Leno in a flash. It's absolutely fantastic defending. And it is half-time. That clean sheet still intact. Arsenal go in at the break, 3-0 in front. Brandt into Aubameyang. Back to Brandt. He's looking for his hat-trick. That's very optimistic from there. It was under his feet. No way of generating any power. Oh, it's a great ball out to Hudson-Odoi. It's unbelievable defending once again. That was a great 60-yard pass. He got past Ake. And who's on the line again? To block it over, Kimpembe. What a game he is having at the back. Alonso with the cross in. Oh, what is Tierney doing there? Rather than clearing it, he's put it straight back in. He's actually given an assist to Martinez. And I don't know why, because I'm holding A and away from goal. And instead, he just that's a fantastic assist. And if I wasn't already 3-0 up, I'd have been more annoyed there. Clean sheet's gone, it's 3-1. Out wide to Bellerin. He finds Pepe inside. He finds Saka. Oh, and he just can't quite find the final cross to Aubameyang. And there we go, that is the full-time whistle. We didn't really do anything in the second half, but we didn't need to. We had the lead from half-time. Hear the boos ringing out around Stamford Bridge. Chelsea fans obviously very disappointed. They did get themselves that goal, but it was all for nothing. Arsenal come away with the 3 points. And now you can see here, our next game in the Premier League is up against Bournemouth. So continue going with our strongest team again. Here we have a Carabao Cup game coming up in just a minute as well. So we'll simulate this here, home to Bournemouth. I would expect us to get the win. They've lost their opening 2 games. And now it's 3 wins for us, 3 losses for Bournemouth, 4-1. Tierney, Pepe, Saka and Aubameyang all on the score sheet. Okay, so we've had a transfer offer here coming for El Neni for 7.4 million. Slightly above his value, so I'm just going to accept that. He obviously came back after being on loan, but he's got no place in the squad, so best to move him on. So now we're up to the Carabao Cup game against Sheffield United. Obviously, we'll rotate the squad a little bit, give our second 11 guys a chance. Should still be more than enough against lower league opposition. Do we get ourselves the result? And we do. We win 4-0. Martinelli gets a hat-trick and then gets injured. And I really hope that's nothing too serious. Otherwise, we might need to look to bring someone in to replace him. Okay, so I was a little bit worried there when it had the ambulance. I couldn't remember if that meant it was a more severe injury or not. I guess it means it's not. He just had a dead leg. He's only out for 6 days. So good that he got a hat-trick and even better that he didn't get a long-term injury. Okay, so we've had confirmation here that Mönchengladbach are happy to pay 12 million for Maui. I'm going to accept that. I think it makes sense that he moves on. He's our 6th choice centre-back. So, I mean, how many minutes is he going to get, really? Okay, so we're just 1 day before the transfer deadline day. And before that, we have a game up against City. We're going to leave, actually, that video there. And then we can kick off episode number 2 with a game against City, the transfer deadline day, and then get a good bit into the season as well. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I think we've made some really good additions to the squad. Julian Brandt already looking like he's a fantastic addition. And obviously, Kimpembe has strengthened our defensive ranks quite considerably. Really excited about the youngsters that are beginning to grow here at year number 2. If you've got any other suggestions of any other players we should be looking to bring in, please obviously let me know in the comments down below. We have done our 3 new signings for the window technically, but I do say that we can replace first team players. So if you think there's any players here in that team there or that team there that don't fit into the squad and they should be moved on and replaced, let me know. We can consider that for the next video tomorrow. Remember, if you have enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and giving the video a thumbs up. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I will see you all next time.